I'm sorry. I'm going to have a moment to compose myself. Danny Swibel. We're done. We're done with monkeys. And you went dancing with...
I'm sorry, we went from Nuremberg to monkeys with herpes. I can't even.
World. Exactly. Yeah. And so we can all do our makeup again. We're going to take a look at Danny Swibel's fabulous piece from the Mayumana Dance Company, which gives us 2 minutes to wipe our faces. Let's take a look.
Mayumana has become one of Israel's leading cultural exports, entertaining millions of people around the world with its international touring cast, as well as in its home theater, the Mayumana House, which is located at the old harbor of Jaffa. Co-creators Boaz Berman, an Israeli Thai boxer, surfer, musician, and percussionist, teamed up with Elon Nufar, a fellow percussionist, photographer, editor, and belly dancer, to create Mayumana.
We decided that we want to do something different, something challenging, something big that the whole world will see.
We have a lot of hobbies, so we thought we'd bring the information to the stage and do something professional with what we do.
Mayumana is truly an art with no boundaries. The team apparently spends years exploring different forms of dance, expression, various ways to make music, and vast technologies to really spice things up.
It's very hard to describe what Mayumana is, but we're like practically everything. I think everybody in Mayumana is a bit, like I said before, a bit happily disturbed. People that cannot sit and do one thing, you know.
It's like a mixture of everything together in Mayumana, which I think is what makes the show so special.
We have rehearsals for new stuff, we have rehearsals to maintain the stuff that is going on. We have new people joining the company, so we also teach.
New people joining the company? Happily disturbed people non-stop creating? Well, maybe there's a place for me in this company. I figured I'd give it a go. Despite my best efforts, my humble talents might not have impressed the founders quite so much. But our true nature exists on a slightly different rhythm. Mayumana takes the audience on a journey to rediscover what that rhythm is.
The hope is always to follow the heart, and the heart always wants to create.
We're joined by Danny Swibel, who was reporting this fabulous piece. Danny, you have a tattoo.
I have a few tattoos, yes, you know.
Ooh. Well, first of all, I just want to say that essentially, okay, you are the correspondent that we love because you went into the trenches, you dove in, and you danced with the group, right?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
And listen, usually I cover the Syria story, the Egypt story. I've been covering very heavy things. So to be able to get out of the studio one afternoon, 2 afternoons, and hang out with this crazy cast was amazing. I needed it. I was stressed out beyond belief. And so I figured I'd do a little audition with them just to see where I stand.
Yeah, and first of all, I have to say that, you know, the whole banging on, and they're down the street from us. Well, no. Okay, we need to see a presentation of what you learned. What did you learn to do?
Well, first, you know, I did do drumming, and so it was just like, and it went on and on and on for hours.
Very expensive table here.
Sorry about that, guys.
Yeah, the sound is breaking up.
Get a little excited.
I'm sorry, it doesn't really work with you with a shirt and a jacket.
It's true, this is true.
But tell us the story behind Mayumana. They're in existence for how many years?
So they've been around for about 16 years, and they started right here at the Port of Jaffa, which is right around the corner from the studio. And now they've spread all around the world. They are in Spain, in Germany, South America, and they're like Coca-Cola in Spain right now.
Really?
Yeah, and the Germans, people love them as well, because that very much fits kind of the German society, you know, like
I think all that banging on drums is reminiscent of, as Tony told us, Lenny Riefenstahl and great movies of the past. And cinematic, you know, legends. But in Germany, they're big. In Spain as well. And in terms of the United States, I'm interested because I lived in the East Village for many years, right next to Stomp, and it's very reminiscent of this American, you know, drumming thing.
Absolutely.
Do we know if they're doing better than Stomp?
You know, it's funny. I really have to look into the exact numbers because this thing is really spreading throughout the world. It's becoming a household name throughout Europe. And, you know, in the States, I think of like a Blue Man Group. I think of, you know, Circus Soleil. And this kind of incorporates elements of those. But to me, I think it takes it to that next step.
No, definitely. A little bit more about the group. We saw this, the blonde dancer, remind me of her name again.
Her name is Elon Nufal.
I don't know. She is a household name in Israel. She's also now part of a series called Connected, which is a reality television show. She has a very moving story. She was one of the creators of Mayumana, right?
That's right, yeah. She was one of the founders 16 years ago, and she was explaining to me, she's done a little bit of everything. She was a belly dancer, she was in percussions, she was everything, a dancer, she played many instruments, and the other founder as well. So
now, how did it come about they took all of that and just funneled it into Mayumana, right?
Yeah, they found a bunch of different people who had very different, diverse talents, and they figured, you know what, let's put something together that's never been done. Let's take this reggae band guy and put it with this dancer, and let's see what we can do.
And there are some people there that actually have no dance training, do they?
That's right. They have no dance training whatsoever. One of the guys was a lead singer in a reggae band, and he danced a little bit. Some people, they were just drummers, and they had no dance experience. But
and where did they find these people?
Yeah, I don't know. They found him in the back alley somewhere. I don't know.
Because I think we were told that they went to clubs, they saw people dancing, and essentially asked them to join the group. Correct?
Yeah, Elon told me that she always seeks out really creative, wild people like herself. I mean, she's definitely
she's a wild card.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you could tell she kind of attracts that kind of energy, and it's good energy. And everybody who I talked to, everybody who I worked with when I was doing my little drumming and dancing and all that.
Little drumming and dancing.
I was doing a lot of drumming.
You're showing your biceps, your tattoo is fully exposed. Yeah. We noticed. We definitely noticed.
I was doing a lot of things. I wasn't just drumming. I did Pilates, which, by the way, after I did the Pilates, I was sore for so many days. And I like to think, I'm like the best at things and real good at sports, and I was in pain for about 6 days. Actually, I was in...
You're telling me this was harder than covering the Jordanian-Syrian border?
Well, it's funny that you asked this, because when I was in Jordan, I was literally, this is a true story, I was sitting down with some of the Syrian rebels, and I was sitting down on a mat on the floor.
Right.
And all I could think of was like, wow, my legs really hurt. I was trying to stay focused in the interview, and I could barely stand up.
I just want to say that this is what hard journalists at work think of when they're sitting with the Syrian rebels.
These moments.
But that was harder physically, I'm assuming.
It was harder physically, and the thing is, listen, it took me about 7 days before I could feel my legs fully, that I didn't walk with a limp. It was very humbling, but I like to think that I held my own, I didn't embarrass myself too much,
No, and interesting, I want to know that after you trained for how many days were you with them?
I was with them for 2 days, and there was like 2 hours of intense, Pilates and drumming. Tried a little dancing, which I don't know if it went so well.
No, we didn't see enough of that, and I'm sorry to say, and you should have come with that, tank top and the whole thing exposed, because you know how much I love that.
Next time for sure.
Okay, so you did the training for 2 days. Did they say that you were, group material?
I think they avoided the subject altogether, which might have been a nice way to say you're terrible. But I'd like to think that I held my own, and I think, when I did the Pilates, I held my own with
Danny,
the group.
I think we're going to keep you here, sweetie. I think, your future is with us and not with the dancing troupe. Thank you very much. But when we get back later,